Welcome to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show, a real estate investment program. Listen and learn how to use real estate to build wealth and passive income streams for you and your family. We bring you experts every day to discuss and answer your questions on everything from single-family homes all the way up to 600-plus unit apartment complexes. And now, the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. On today's show, I have asked Sorrell to join me today. Now, Sorrell is a really interesting guy. This guy, I'll tell you what, you want to talk about somebody that I would consider a traveler. This is your guy. Also, if you want to have a conversation about investing in real estate, this is your guy. As a matter of fact, Sorrell completely changed his life several years ago. As a matter of fact, 3 years ago, he officially said, that's it, man. I have retired myself. I have retired myself by using the income streams that come from all of my investments that I have made. I have enough income now. I don't have to go back to work. So what I want you to do today is I want you to listen to Sorrell, because I brought him on the show specifically because this guy is full of a lot of wisdom. Yeah, you thought I was going to say something else, but that's not where I'm going. Sorrell is somebody that I consider a trusted advisor. As a matter of fact, one of the things that Sorrell does is he provides mentoring services to Lifestyles Unlimited members in the single-family space. Yeah, when he got to that point where he was getting ready to retire himself, he had an epiphany and he said to himself, you know what? I want to help other people out. So it was like a natural progression for this guy to stop doing what he had been doing and to start doing what he's doing now, which is helping people change their lives one asset at a time. So at this time, I'm going to invite Sorrell to join us. Sorrell, are you there?
I am here, Al. Thanks a lot, and thanks for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. You know, what the audience didn't hear was you and I cutting up just before the start of the show, and then realizing we actually had to get kind of back into the professional mode because we're actually supposed to be doing a professional radio show here.
Absolutely, and we'll try to do that, but it's going to be tough for both of us.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that. I just want to have a good time with you because I do have a good time with you. So, Sorrell, let's get into your background. Tell us a little bit about, that corporate America thing you were enduring for so many years, and then what caused you to get involved with real estate investing.
Absolutely. So I was in sales for most of my career and over 30 years, and the last 13 or 14 of those years, I worked at a fairly large online travel company, and that's what developed. Well, I already had a love for travel. I actually took the job to really pursue my love of travel, but that's what I did a lot, was just in sales, and I was in management for most of the time at the travel company. And I didn't save well in my misspent youth. I had a lot of fun. I made good money, but I spent a lot of money. I had ups and downs like many salespeople do. And so I was in my early 50s when I realized I didn't have enough saved for retirement. I was probably, 20 years away or less than 20 years away at that point, and realized I had not saved well for retirement. So I started saving crazy in all the traditional methods. That's all I knew because I had just a regular W-2 job my entire life. And so I was in the 401k and the IRAs and things like that. And I was chunking away money and trying to do the additional, the maximum I could contribute and the catch-up contributions because I was over 50 and doing everything I could. And I kept running into roadblocks that I was just, surprised to find out. The first one, I think, was that I made too much money to contribute to a Roth IRA. And I'm thinking, you make too much money to contribute to retirement. That didn't make any sense to me. So I had to kind of redirect some investments at that point. And then I had to, the next time it was, I contributed too much to my retirement because I was a highly compensated employee, so they limited what I could actually contribute. So again, I was limited to what I could contribute to my retirement as I'm trying to catch up. And then the third year, this is 3 years in a row, things were happening to me. And the third year, even though I had reduced my contributions, I guess the company contributions as an average fell, and they actually gave me back a check for like $3,200 that I had over-contributed the previous year. And my mind, looking back, all that third year seems like everything happened at the same time, but it probably was over a few weeks. But I was frustrated by that, and I got in my car to go to lunch, and for the first time ever, I heard the Lifestyles radio show. And I'm listening to this. I'm thinking, oh, this sounds like something I could do. And I was going to just go to a restaurant and sit down. Instead, I changed plans as I'm driving and went through a drive-through and picked up a burger or something and went to a park and sat there and listened to the radio show. And I know you talk to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people who have listened to the radio show, you and Dell and people for years before they ever take action. But because of my previous history, I heard the radio show, and I went to the workshop that same week, and that month I went to the 2-day and joined as a member, all less than 30 days.
You said something that really caught my attention. You said at the beginning when you were telling your story, said, I was in my 50s, and I knew retirement was 20 years away. I mean, Sorrell, you and I, buddy, we drank the same Kool-Aid in life because, I mean, that's kind of where my head was at, too. When I left the military, I was in my 50s, had just gotten to my 50s, and I thought, this is it, man. I'm going to cubicle hell for the next 20 years. And you start down that path, and it doesn't feel very good, does it?
It does not. I actually, made a spreadsheet with all different types of variables in it, and also found Dave Ramsey. I guess before I found Lifestyles, several years before Lifestyles, I found Dave Ramsey, and I got on that plan. I didn't have a whole lot of debt at that time, so I did get out of debt pretty quickly, and that's when I made spreadsheets. If I contribute this much toward retirement in whatever vehicle I could. And then when I got there, and I think I was 53 at that time, and I had a 17-year plan to take me to 70 years old.
That is awful that we have to plan that way. I'll tell you what, when we come back from the break, Sorrell's going to give you an update on how he got it done much quicker. Stick around.
We're back with the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. We're here to answer your questions and help you become financially free.
Welcome back to the show. All right, in the first segment, Sorrell laid out his game plan for retirement for us. I mean, the game plan that he had been following his entire life, which was work for corporate America, make money, spend money, live your life, have a good time, get to a certain age in your life and go, maybe I ought to pay a little more attention to putting money aside, and then finding out that the system is rigged against you, that you can't even invest your money into these sacred investment vehicles because you either make too much money or you're trying to put too much money into it. I mean, it's frustrating. It's absolutely frustrating. So Sorrell, at one point, he heard us on the radio, and instead of going having a sit-down lunch, he went through a drive-through, went to a park, and listened to what we had to say. And if you're in that same mode right now, I want you to listen up, because right now, Sorrell is going to tell you how he completely changed his retirement parameters. I mean, he got off of that 17-year plan, and he got onto a much faster timeline. Sorrell, take it from there.
Okay, Al. One thing about the 17-year plan, I mentioned I made these spreadsheets, and I think it was probably 2011 or so. I had this 17-year plan, and then in 2013 is when I found Lifestyles, and so my plan was to pay off my house and then save money to buy my first rent property in cash, the way Dave Ramsey teaches it. And that was part of that 17-year plan. And then in 2013, toward the end of 2013 is where I found Lifestyles and followed that plan and started buying single-family homes. And 2 years later, I upgraded my membership and started buying multifamily passive investments. And I was able to retire in 3.5 years. Had I stayed with kind of my plan and my Dave Ramsey plan in 2018, starting in 2011, I would have bought my first rental property in cash. And so now here it is, 3 years later in 2021, I would probably own 2, maybe 3 rental properties in cash that would be giving me somewhere around $1,500 to $2,000 a month cash flow had I been on that original plan, but I would still be at my job. And instead, I followed the Lifestyles model, and I was able to replace all my expenses and then my fund money, and I got to retire and travel the world, which I was doing some before because of my job, but I got to retire and play golf and scuba dive like you and I have been talking about. And so it took 3.5 years what was going to take me 17 years to do on my original plan.
Yeah, I think 3.5 years is a much better game plan than what you were originally doing. So let's talk a little bit about your investing model. What exactly did you decide to invest in when you first got started?
When I first started, it was single-family homes, and it was just probably more of a comfort zone for me. And another thing is because I was looking to retire quickly, I wanted the cash flow. And single-family can give a higher cash flow initially. Long-term, multifamily is probably Dell and David Fisher and different people say it's the highest and best use of your money, the reason I did eventually convert. But I started with single family, just building up the cash flow. And before I even retired, I then switched over and started doing multifamily. So that's where I'm now today. I still have single family, and I have a combination of both single family and multifamily passives today.
So I think it's safe to say you probably manage all of your own properties. Do you do that?
I do. I've done it from day one, and I rent them all out. I did have one renewal property. A tenant moved out, and I was looking for a new tenant. And at that time, I just had knee surgery, and so that one time I did use a leasing agent to find my tenant. But all the other times, I've leased my own properties. And I've always managed my own single-family properties. Now, in multifamily as a passive, I don't have to do that, of course.
So how hard is it to manage these properties? I mean, are you spending like 10, 20, 30 hours a week doing this?
I am probably averaging over the, 7 years or so I've been a member, I'm probably averaging maybe 30 minutes a month.
Wow. The reason I ask you the question, Sorrell, is that I think one of the big fears that's out there that people have with regards to investing the way we do, it's that whole concept of you actually have to talk to somebody. You actually have to communicate with somebody. And, people, I think, are hesitant to do that. I mean, I think they're really afraid of the whole leasing and managing process. I mean, can you put their fears at ease a little bit?
Absolutely. And Lifestyles teaches the best way to do that. The first thing is you start at the very beginning with when you first buy the house. You want to buy the right property, and you want to fix every single thing that not only that needs fixing, but everything that doesn't have a 5 to 7 year life cycle left in it. So I have replaced roofs that were not leaking because they were old. I've replaced a couple of AC units because they were cooling and heating fine at the time I made the purchase, but they were old. So I didn't want those repairs to show up in the first or second year that I owned the property that would cause me more money out of pocket and be inconvenient for my resident. So when you fix everything up front, you're minimizing maintenance going forward. Therefore, I don't have very many maintenance calls. And then the second part of that is proper resident screening. You screen and you get the right people in your properties. And when people move in and they don't have a history of tearing up properties because you've screened them well, they're not going to tear up your property. They're not going to cause damage to the property, generally speaking. And so that, again, is minimizing ongoing maintenance issues. And so all my residents in my single-family homes pay electronically, so I don't have to collect rent. I don't have to collect checks. I don't have to go to the bank to make deposits. Also, when you get the proper tenants in, you make sure they understand that rent is their first priority. And now there was some conditions I made with two of my 8 residents during COVID. But generally speaking, they pay on time. They know they have to pay on time. They pay electronically. So I just literally go into my account on the third of the month and make sure all my payments are made. I do the calculations and put them into my spreadsheet, and so that takes no time at all. And then, I probably get 2 to maybe 5 maintenance calls a year total, and I don't go out to the property. I call the proper vendor, have them set a time to meet the resident. I'm not the one coordinating all that. And then when they get there, they call me and tell me what the issue is. I tell them that in most cases just fix it, and I give them a credit card.
I think it actually took you more time to explain what you do than it actually does for you to actually do it. I mean, at the end of the day, right? So, the point Sorrell's making is that we'll show you how to do all this stuff. Don't worry about what right looks like. We've got a system in place. When we come back from the break, I'm going to ask him to put his mentor hat on. Stick around.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Now, let's get back to your map to financial freedom.
Welcome back to the show. When two Lifestyles Unlimited members get together on the radio, we talk about things that are important for you to hear. We also talk about things during the breaks that are important for us to hear, because what Sorrell and I were doing during the breaks, we were actually talking about planning a scuba diving trip, and Sorrell's got a place down in Cozumel that he likes, and since I've never been there, I'm like, yeah, let's go do it. And we were actually talking about, well, what does this cost? And, Sorrell's just a wealth of knowledge, so he's like, okay, well, the all-inclusive is this, and then the airfare is that. So I'm like, okay, so under $2,000 we can get this done. This is awesome. But I think we're supposed to not be talking about scuba diving, Sorrell, but we're actually talking about the lifestyle now, aren't we?
Absolutely. That's the whole goal, the whole reason to do this is to get to that lifestyle. And ours is scuba diving, but whatever someone's lifestyle and their goals happen to be, this is the vehicle to get there.
That feeling of retirement, that place of retirement, you're in a unique position in the Lifestyles Unlimited community because you dedicate your time to helping our members get to that point, do you not?
I do, absolutely.
What is it like to be mentored? I mean, for somebody listening to us right now who's maybe considering finding a mentor, what should they look for? What would they find in you?
Well, the one thing that all the mentors on the Lifestyles team bring is we all have followed the model, been successful with it, retired from our W-2 jobs. And so we have that knowledge, but we also have the combined knowledge of all of us. Anytime someone asks me a question I don't have the answer to, I have 11 other people that I can pick their brains to. Plus, if none of us know, which is pretty rare, of course, we have Lynn and everybody else, that Lifestyles too. And I don't know how many hours that all of us have, the mentors have, but I've had 7 years as a member, and so I'm thinking we're all going to have something like that, probably 3 to 10 or 12 years, and so you combine that. So we had 100 years of collective knowledge among us, and then we all are following the Lifestyles model. We all have done it the Lifestyles way, so we've all been successful using the same pattern, and that's what we impart on everyone else. And when I came into Lifestyles, I knew nothing about it. I'd never had a rent house. I never had owned a business and run a business myself, so I leaned on my mentor all the time, and that's what enabled me to retire in 3.5 years. And so when people call me, I am delighted to take their calls, their emails, and to work with them and to help them, first of all, identify their goals, stay on their goals, and stay on track to reach those goals, and then work toward their retirement.
Yeah, I recall one time sitting in front of a house that I was thinking about buying, looking at my wife. My wife's looking back at me, and the first thing we said to each other, let's call Sorrell and get his input on this property. You remember that phone call?
I do remember that call, absolutely.
Yeah, because
a fun call, actually.
Yeah, and here's the one piece of advice you gave me, which it was the absolute piece of advice I needed to hear at that time. You told me, because I was trying to make the transaction win-win. I was buying from another Lifestyles Unlimited member, and this was going to be the third property that was going to complete my 1031 exchange stuff, yada, yada, yada. Anyhow, this particular property, I was kind of looking at it. It wasn't as nice as the other two that I had bought, and the cash flow wasn't quite as good, but it still met those basic requirements. And as my brain was all over the place, Sorrell, you said these sage words to me. You said this: don't worry about the seller's needs. Focus on your goals. Focus on your objectives. If it makes sense, buy it. If it doesn't, put the car in drive and continue down the way.
Yeah, it's coming back. I remember the conversation, but I don't remember the details of it. Yeah. And that's what we needed to hear to get our brain back on the target, so to speak. We did buy that property, and it's actually turned out to be a very good asset. Now, of the three assets, it's the one that's underperforming a little bit, but it's no slouch. It's doing pretty well. You know, I think that's the most important thing that a mentor can provide to you. That clear, third-party, disinterested, well, not really disinterested, but disinterested in the actual transaction, so you can be neutral. So when my emotions are kind of getting the better of me, because sometimes that happens when I'm looking to buy a property, you're cool, you're calm, you're collected, you've got the whole process right in front of your eyes, and you understand it, and you're able to talk me off the ledge. And I think that is just awesome. Yeah, and thanks. That's one of the things I do quite a bit, especially now in this market that is so tight. I talk to members almost daily, and my goal is for them not to basically force the square peg into the round hole. And so many members are it's been the whole 3.5 years I've been a mentor, but especially now, people are really trying to get properties, and they're reaching well past where they should be reaching. And that's the thing I want to do, is talk about that ledge and like I say, not force that square peg into the round hole.
Yeah, no, I'm there with you. As a matter of fact, I've been looking at a lot of properties lately because one of my friends, I told him about Lifestyles, and he said, well, I want a piece of that. So he became a member, and, he upgraded to the Challenge program, and now he just texted me the other day. He says, hey, we decided to go to PIG because we've got all this money we've got to deploy. And I've been talking to him a little bit about properties. He's in that mindset that you're wanting to guard people against. He's so wants to acquire that asset, and he's watching properties that he's analyzing kind of slip away because maybe the numbers aren't working. So what do we do for people like that? How do we calm them down and make them understand that the numbers are what the numbers are?
Well, that's one of the things I try to do. We have an initial mentor meeting with the new people that join at this level, and we go over their goals, their capital, and lay out that roadmap of how to get there. But one of the biggest parts of that is setting their criteria, and this is based on their goals and their everything and their capital. And so we don't want to overreach those. And so I tell people quite a bit, we had a discussion 2 weeks ago. You told me these were your goals, and this property doesn't meet your goals. Why are you looking at this one? And sometimes the out-of-pocket is substantially higher than what they said their maximum out-of-pocket would be. Well, you can buy this one property, and it's going to give you a lower cash-on-cash return because you're spending more out-of-pocket for it. You're investing more out-of-pocket for it. And it's not bad, but your goal was to buy 3 properties in the year, and you won't be able to do that because you're taking too much capital on this one. And so those are the kind of things we walk through is, let's set your criteria and stick to your criteria. And now you may need to make some changes along the way as the market shifts and things like that. But don't just jump out there. And I've heard this term quite a bit, not just in this tough market we're in, for the last 6 months, but over the 3.5 years, I've heard people say, well, I just want to do something. I want to get in the game. And you don't get in the game the wrong way.
Yeah, because you could get hurt, right? I mean, this is no different than playing organized sports. You have to train for it. You have to be educated on the sport itself, and then you have to be coached or mentored, and then you actually have to physically get into the game. But just getting into the game when you're not ready is just going to get you hurt, and it's not going to work.
Absolutely. And hurt here can be a big financial hurt, and that's what we try to avoid.
That's true. And when we come back from the break, where I want to go is I love this discussion of the current seller's market that's out there. Let's stay on this, and I'm actually going to ramp it up a little bit, but I'm going to save that until we come back.
Listening to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show will change your life. We will teach you how to create wealth and passive income so you can be financially free. And now, back to your host.
Welcome back to the show. So if you're just joining me, I have Sorrell on the show with me. Sorrell is a Lifestyles Unlimited single-family mentor. That's what he does professionally. When you need somebody to help you get started, to help you shape your future when it comes to investing, Sorrell's a really good guy to work with because Sorrell not only has the background and knowledge, he has helped so many people during his tenure as a mentor in Lifestyles Unlimited. He knows the single-family markets inside and out. If you think I analyze a lot of deals, walk a mile in Sorrell's shoes. This guy makes me look silly when it comes to figuring out the mechanics of whether a deal can work or it doesn't work. So Sorrell, where I want to go now is I just want to talk about this crazy seller's market. I'm seeing a lot of pricing pressure that's pushing pricing up because I think there's a lot of pent-up demand that's coming out of this lockdown that we've been in. And I think the interest rates also are so darn low that it's allowing people to have probably the most purchasing power they've ever had in their lifetime. And I think that's forcing pricing up. But the danger with that when it comes to these investment properties that you and I buy is that if the rental values don't at least try and stay up with that, we could get into a situation kind of like the California markets. What do you think about that?
You're absolutely right, Al. And luckily, the prices of the properties are going up. Rents are also going up. There's demand on rents. People are getting rents, getting new. I haven't had to get a new tenant during COVID, but people who are either getting move-outs and new tenants or brand new properties, there's just a list of people waiting to rent their properties also. So that's all good. But so the thing with it is that it's and Lifestyles is always taught we make money in the up markets and the down markets, and this is be considered a huge up market. But Lifestyles members are still making money and they're still finding the right properties, and those properties are turning out well. And like you talked about mentoring other people, I hopefully one of the upcoming success stories, a young man who's actually a father and I think 2 or 3 sons joined at the same time 6 months ago or so. So they joined right in the middle of COVID, and I've been working a lot with the youngest son. I think he's 23, I believe, and he's been diligent. He's been doing the education. He's been looking for properties. He's been working with realtors. But like many members, he was getting antsy and he wanted to pull the trigger, and so I had to talk him down off the ledge several times. This does not meet not only does it not meet your criteria for your first property, if you go for these properties with too much out of pocket, it's kind of hinder your long-term goal. Well, this guy's a superstar in so many ways, but he is saving a tremendous amount of money. Obviously, at 23, he didn't start with a ton of money, but he's saving a lot of money every month. But anyway, after working with him for 3 months, he would send me properties, take a look at this one, help me with this one, and that one didn't work, and that one didn't work, and it didn't work. But I guess today is Thursday. Monday, he went under contract on his first property, and it's looking good, and I think this is going to be a great property for him, and hopefully I'll get him on stage and do a case study coming up soon, and I see just a bright future for him. And he's doing all this during COVID and during this crazy market also. It's
nuts out there. And here's the thing. This guy's 23 years of age. I wish I had known what I know now back when I was 23 years of age. Without disclosing who this gentleman is, what's his game plan? What is his game plan at the age of 23 to get retired? What have the two of you talked about?
Well, he wants to get, I think it was 7 or 8 single-family homes, and I don't remember the exact details of it. But I think it was 7 or 8 single-family homes, and the way he's able to save money, that's an easily doable goal, and then it's to move to multifamily. But I think he told me he wants to not just replace his income of a 23-year-old, he wants to have an income of double or triple what his income is before he leaves his job and then settles down into retirement. But the way he has his goals laid out from him and the money he's saving, I could easily see he could do this in 5 years. And at 28 years old, he could be invested fully in real estate, will not have a W-2 job, and will be making tons of money through his real estate investments at 28 years old.
I'm looking forward to seeing this case study because I really enjoy watching the younger generations come in and take this stuff seriously. You also brought up a very important point, which has to do with make sure when you're ready to squeeze the trigger, you have everything lined up. You have your target in sight and everything makes sense. And then you squeeze the trigger. How many properties did this young man look at where he kind of wanted to, come on, Sorrell, should we buy it? Should we buy it? How many did he go through until he found that one that he actually bought?
Well, he sent to me probably, I'm guessing, around 10. And he probably looked at some, because each time he would come to me, I would help him again lay out his criteria and why this one doesn't meet the criteria, and he would fine-tune that. And so I know that he looked at some that he didn't even bring to me because they just didn't meet the criteria. And I gave him, here's some examples of, does it meet this, and this? And if it does, then let's go to the next step. And if it doesn't, don't even spend any more time with that one. But he probably sent me 10 properties over this past 5 or 6 months before he found this one.
You know, I'm just kind of thinking about the Super Bowl. Some guy by the name of Tom Brady shows up, and he's this miraculous quarterback, and he takes the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to a Super Bowl win after doing the same thing in a place called New England. Ironically, Tom Brady did not get to that level of excellence by himself. The point I'm making is that this young man is not getting to the point of excellence by himself. He has somebody like Sorrell in his corner who absolutely understands this guy's goals and objectives and is going to kind of hold him to the fire and point out potential mistakes that this man may make if he goes in a certain direction. So the point I'm really making is this. This young man could have bought a lot of stuff along the way, but because he listened to his mentor, he waited 5, maybe 6 months to finally pull the trigger on a deal that makes sense for his investing strategy. And that's what a mentor really does for you. They keep you honed on what is important. Because at the end of the day, I mean, if you've got $200,000 of capital to deploy and your game plan says, okay, $25,000 per asset, you could get 8 properties. And if you need 8 properties to retire yourself, you got to stay on course. And all of a sudden, if you start buying properties that cost you more cash out of pocket for less return on investment, maybe you only can buy 6 properties. Now your money's all deployed and you've missed your target. And Sorrell, that's really what you're doing for this young man, right? You are keeping him focused on where he's trying to get to.
Absolutely. And, you know, again, at 23, he didn't have $200,000 saved up. I don't remember the exact number, but he's saving, I think it's $1,500 a month. And so when he was ready to pull the trigger on that first one, I said, you know, if you wait 6 months, I mean, you have another $7,500. And it didn't take him an additional 6 months from the time we had that conversation, but he's able to stay focused. And I would send him, you need to have this much out of pocket. You need to have reserves. You need to have the money to get the rehab started. And you can't just look at this one number out of pocket. You got to look at the total picture. And you mentioned help having me on his team. He has a team. He's not just me. He's working with realtors. He has contractors on his team. He has inspectors on his team. He has insurance brokers on his team. So he has a lot of people to help him reach his goals.
This property he bought, what's that property going to do for him? How much cash out of pocket is he looking at putting into that deal, and what's his cash flow going to be?
Unfortunately, I don't have that information. I should know that offhand, but I don't have it, and I didn't write any of that down before I got it.
I didn't mean to put it down. See, now I'm just curious because now I'm like, okay, hopefully this guy got a really good deal, and I want to hear something like, yeah, I got in for like $15,000, $20,000, which is a really good price point in today's market, and he's getting, $400 a month cash flow, which is a very good price point in today's market. And you know what? I'm rambling because I've got Sorrell on the show, and I just looked at the clock. Sorrell, we're at the end of the show.
Wow, it always goes so fast, Al.
I know. Are you willing to come back again so that I can hang out and have fun with you? All right, we're going to do it. Don't miss the opportunity to understand how to invest in real estate and to work with a great mentor like Sorrell. Go to lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com and figure out how to get started.
The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.